All right, let's dive in. Today we're tackling MJ DeMarco's Unscripted.
A book that really throws down the gauntlet when it comes to, escaping the rat race and forging your own path to financial freedom.
Yeah, and I gotta say, DeMarco doesn't pull any punches, does he?
Not at all. He's all about tough love and cutting through the BS, those comfy lies we tell ourselves to stay stuck.
Right, like the whole idea that following the traditional path, college, job, retirement is the only way to success.
Exactly. And DeMarco calls that the conventional wisdom principle.
Which basically says doing what everyone else does leads you right into the rat race.
And it keeps you trapped there, trading your best years for a paycheck and maybe, someday, a distant dream of freedom.
But DeMarco starts with a story about this guy, Jeff, who seems to have it all, right?
Good job. House, family, the whole 9 yards.
But he's miserable.
And that's what DeMarco calls comfortable pain.
It's like going through the motions, but never really feeling alive.
And it's so easy to fall into that trap, especially when society keeps telling you this is the way it's supposed to be.
Right. It's like we're programmed from a young age to accept this as the only path to success.
But DeMarco challenges that head on.
He's like, wake up, there's a whole other world out there.
And a big part of that is understanding how limited your leverage is in a traditional job.
You're trading time for money, and even if you're a diligent saver, that clock is ticking.
He uses this crazy example. A retail salesperson,
Okay.
even with a 10% savings rate, it would take them over 160 years to reach $5 million in savings.
Oof, that's a sobering thought.
It really makes you question that whole work, save, retire model, right?
So how do we escape this trap? What's DeMarco's solution?
He introduces this idea of the fast lane, this alternative path to wealth and freedom that's all about creating, not just consuming.
You're building something, not just trading your time for someone else's bottom line.
And one key concept for navigating the fast lane is understanding the difference between the time value of money and what he calls the discounted time value of time.
Okay, I'm familiar with the time value of money, invest early, let your money grow over time. But what's this discounted time value of time all about?
Well, traditional financial advice says grow your money over time, right?
Yeah.
But DeMarco says, sure, money earned later might be worth less because of inflation, but think about it. Your ability to actually enjoy that money, to really live life, that also diminishes with time.
That's a really interesting way to put it. You're discounting your own ability to experience life.
Exactly. Like you're trading your best years for a promise of freedom that might never come.
So it's not just about the money itself. It's about what that money represents, the freedom and the experiences you can have.
And if you keep pushing those experiences off, you're essentially saying your time, your life right now, isn't as valuable.
It's like you're on a payment plan for your own happiness.
Ouch, and that's a good way to put it.
But it's true. And this is where DeMarco's concept of asymmetric returns comes in, right?
Yeah, he's all about finding ways to leverage your efforts so one unit of work yields multiple units of reward.
I like to think of it like a seesaw.
Okay, with you.
On one side, you have the traditional job, 1 hour of work for 1 hour of pay. But DeMarco's saying we need to tilt that seesaw in our favor.
Make that 1 hour of work generate income for days, weeks, even years to come.
Give me an example. How does this actually play out in the real world?
Imagine writing a book.
Okay.
It takes time, effort, right?
Yeah.
To write, to publish.
Sure.
But once it's out there, it can generate income for years, even while you're sleeping.
You're not actively trading time for money at that point.
Exactly. Or think about creating an online course.
Another great example.
The initial work is an investment, but then it can reach new students,
Yeah.
generate revenue long after you finish creating it.
So the key is to create assets that work for you even when you're not working on them.
That's the power of leverage.
But DeMarco also challenges another piece of popular advice, the whole follow your passion thing.
Which is interesting, right? Because we hear that everywhere.
Yeah, like it's the key to happiness and success.
But DeMarco says, hold on, passion isn't enough.
He actually uses this fictional character, Job Stevens, to illustrate his point.
Right, Job's this passionate, abstract finger painter.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
He pours his heart and soul into his art, but nobody's buying it.
Why? What's the missing ingredient?
Market demand.
So just because you're passionate about something doesn't mean there's a market for it.
Exactly. DeMarco says what really matters is creating something the market sees as valuable.
He calls this perceived value.
And it's the key to building a successful business.
So it's not just about what you love, it's about finding a way to make that passion valuable to others,
It's about understanding what the market wants and needs.
even if it challenges your own preferences.
Right. Sometimes you got to adjust your sails.
And DeMarco uses a great analogy here. Michael Phelps winning his 23rd Olympic gold medal.
Everyone celebrates the victory.
But what do they often overlook?
The years of training, the discipline, the setbacks, the sheer hard work.
It's easy to focus on the end result, the shiny trophy, but the process, that journey, is just as important.
He calls this the process principle.
True success, whether it's financial freedom or Olympic gold, requires a commitment to that journey.
A willingness to embrace the ups and downs, the failures, the setbacks.
It's about showing up every day, even when you don't see immediate results.
Consistency is key.
And DeMarco also warns against falling into the trap of shortcut thinking.
Oh yeah, those get-rich-quick schemes are tempting.
But they rarely lead to lasting success.
It's about understanding that real achievement takes time, effort, and playing the long game.
Building something sustainable, something that can weather the storms.
Because they will come.
So we're starting to see that escaping the rat race isn't about finding some magic formula or winning the lottery.
It's about a whole new mindset.
A willingness to challenge conventional wisdom and a commitment to building a life of freedom and purpose on your own terms.
And that shift in mindset includes recognizing the difference between true entrepreneurship and just trading one boss for another.
Which is where DeMarco introduces the idea of the job proxy trap.
You think you're running your own business, but you're actually just working for someone else in disguise.
He shares that story of the Amazon seller who built their whole business on that platform.
And then their account gets terminated.
Overnight, their entire livelihood is gone.
It's a cautionary tale about the importance of building your own brand and assets.
Not relying on someone else's platform.
Control is key.
It's like building your house on solid ground instead of on shifting sand.
You need a foundation that's stable, resilient.
Something that can withstand those inevitable storms.
DeMarco also talks about thinking big, hunting where the rats are biting.
Right, going where the demand is.
He introduces these concepts of TAM, total addressable market.
And TM, total usable market.
Think of TAM as the entire pie.
So everyone who could potentially benefit from your product or service.
Right. And TUM is the slice of that pie you can realistically reach.
So even if your idea could help millions, if you can only reach a few thousand, your potential is limited.
You got to be strategic about where you focus your efforts.
And even with a great idea and a large market, there are still so many unknowns when it comes to building a successful business.
And that's where DeMarco brings in the Drake equation principle.
Okay, now this sounds intriguing. The Drake equation is this, like astrophysics.
It is. It's actually a formula for estimating the number of detectable alien civilizations in our galaxy.
So how does this relate to business?
Well, DeMarco uses it as an analogy to illustrate the inherent uncertainty of business plans.
Like there's so many variables, so many unknowns.
Exactly. Just like the Drake equation, business plans are full of assumptions, making them often unreliable predictors of future success.
So are you saying we should just ditch the business plan altogether and wing it?
Not exactly. It's more about understanding the limitations of planning.
And embracing a more agile and iterative approach.
He introduces what he calls the 3A method.
Okay, tell me more.
Act, assess, adjust.
So action over endless planning.
It's about getting out there, testing your ideas, gathering data, and adapting based on real-world feedback.
It's like being a scientist in your own business.
You have a hypothesis, you run experiments, you gather data, and you adjust based on the evidence.
I like that.
It's a much more dynamic and responsive approach than getting bogged down in hypotheticals.
So let's bring this back to DeMarco's characters, Jeff and Sam, as they embark on their entrepreneurial journey.
They decide to create a 15-10 planacy.
Love that term planacy. It perfectly captures that blend of planning and adaptability.
So their planacy outlines their goals for 1 year, 5 years, and 10 years down the line.
And what's their first step, their initial focus?
Surprisingly simple, to make one profitable sale.
Just one.
So DeMarco stresses the importance of starting small, proving your concept, building momentum.
It's not about go big or go home right out of the gate.
It's about validating your market, gaining confidence through action.
And what about those who feel like they don't have any special skills or resources to start a business?
DeMarco says anyone can do it.
Yeah.
It's about being resourceful, using what you have, what he calls the MacGyverism strategy.
I love that. like combining your existing skills and resources in creative ways.
It's about finding those workarounds, those unconventional solutions.
And he also reminds us that storytelling is a crucial part of building a compelling brand.
Absolutely. A good story can connect with customers on an emotional level.
Make your brand memorable.
Think about those iconic brands, Apple, Nike, Harley Davidson.
They're not just selling products, they're selling a feeling, an experience.
A story that people want to be a part of.
And DeMarco uses this fictional company, Heroic Kitchen, as an example,
They donate a portion of their profits to animal rescue.
which creates this powerful narrative that resonates with their target audience.
It adds a layer of meaning to their brand,
And finally, DeMarco introduces the monogamy strategy,
which is all about focus.
focusing on one business until it becomes a success.
No shiny object syndrome.
Right, because it's so easy to get distracted by the next big thing.
But DeMarco says true success requires dedication, seeing things through.
Sticking with it, even when it gets tough.
It's about asking yourself, am I truly committed to this, or am I just chasing the next shiny object?
That's a powerful question.
It forces you to confront your own level of commitment,
And decide if you're truly giving your best to your current endeavor.
because building a successful business takes time, focus, unwavering dedication.
It's about resisting that temptation to jump ship at the first sign of difficulty.
And that's where we'll leave it for now.
Join us in part 2 as we dive into DeMarco's sense framework, the 5 key elements of business that can actually break free from the rat race.
We'll get tactical and start breaking down how to actually build that unscripted life.
See you there. All right, welcome back to the deep dive.
Now, as promised, we're going to unpack MJ DeMarco's sense framework. Your roadmap to, building a business that can actually break free from the rat race.
I'm ready to get tactical. Let's break it down. What does sense stand for?
Okay, so sense stands for control, entry, need, time, and scale.
And these are the 5 key elements for creating a business that generates real wealth and freedom.
Yeah, it's about calling the shots, designing a life on your own terms.
Let's start with control. Why is that so crucial in DeMarco's unscripted philosophy?
Well, DeMarco's constantly reminding us that true entrepreneurship isn't just about trading one boss for another.
Right, it's about ownership.
It's about having control over your business, your destiny, your time.
And I think that story of the Amazon seller really highlights this.
Losing their entire business overnight?
Just because of a policy change, it's a perfect example of what happens when you lack control.
You're at the mercy of someone else's decisions.
So it's not enough to just be busy or even profitable.
You got to be building something you actually own, something that can't be taken away from you on a whim.
Building that foundation for your unscripted empire.
Exactly. Control is about sustainability, resilience, being able to weather those inevitable storms in the marketplace.
Okay, so that's control. What about entry?
All right, so entry focuses on barriers to competition. How difficult is it for someone else to replicate your business model?
Right, because if anyone with a laptop and an internet connection can start a similar business tomorrow, you're going to face a ton of competition.
You'll be stuck in a race to the bottom, constantly fighting for scraps.
No one wants that.
DeMarco wants us to look for businesses with higher entry barriers.
Like what?
Think specialized knowledge, unique skills, innovative processes that are hard to copy.
So like having a moat around your business.
That's exactly what he calls it, the moat strategy.
I love that analogy, protecting you from those hordes of competitors.
The higher the barriers to entry, the stronger your competitive advantage.
Okay, makes sense. So we've got control, entry, what's next?
You need a product or service people want or need, right?
Yeah, obviously, but I'm guessing DeMarco goes a bit deeper than that.
He does. It's not just about offering something nice to have.
It's got to be solving a real problem.
He talks about selling painkillers, not vitamins.
Right, offering solutions to problems people are actively trying to solve.
Remember, hunting where the rats are biting.
Go where the demand is.
Don't try to create demand from scratch. Find those existing pain points.
All right, so we've got control, entry, need. What about time?
Time. This is where DeMarco's view really diverges from that traditional work, save, retire model.
Right, because in the rat race, you're constantly trading your time for money.
Hoping to someday have enough saved to finally enjoy your freedom.
But DeMarco flips the script.
He says in an unscripted business, time should be your ally.
So instead of being limited by time, you're leveraging time to create a business that works for you.
Even when you're not physically working.
Think about those examples we talked about earlier, books, online courses, those systems that generate passive income.
While you're sleeping, traveling, living your life.
This is what he calls the polymorphic pay principle.
Past effort generating ongoing income.
That's the key to breaking free from that 9 to 5 grind.
True time freedom.
All right, and the final element of the sense framework, scale.
Scale focuses on the potential for growth. Can your business reach a large market? Can it generate significant revenue?
Without you having to work harder and harder.
Exactly. It's about creating a business that can grow beyond the limitations of your own time and effort.
So instead of hitting a ceiling, you have the potential to expand exponentially.
Reaching more customers, generating more income without you having to be chained to your desk.
This is where the internet becomes so powerful, right?
You can reach a global audience without being limited by physical location.
Okay, so we've got the 5 elements of the sense framework, but where do we even begin? How do we actually put this into practice?
DeMarco offers a ton of practical advice, but one of the most powerful concepts is the 3A method.
We touched on that briefly earlier. Act, assess, adjust, right?
It starts with taking action. Don't get bogged down in endless planning or analysis paralysis.
Right, because remember the Drake equation, there are so many unknowns, you can't predict everything.
It's much better to get out there and gather real-world data through action.
So experimentation over endless hypothetical scenarios.
Once you've taken action, then you assess the results. What worked, what didn't, what feedback did you get?
Gathering data, analyzing, like a scientist.
And then, based on your assessment, you adjust your approach.
Tweaking your product, refining your marketing, maybe even pivoting to a completely new direction.
The key is to be flexible, adaptable, willing to change course based on what you're learning.
So it's an ongoing cycle, this act, assess, adjust.
You're constantly learning, refining, improving.
And DeMarco also emphasizes that failure is part of the process.
It's inevitable. You're going to make mistakes.
But it's not about avoiding failure, it's about learning from it.
He talks about developing a growth mindset.
Embracing challenges, seeking feedback, constantly striving to learn and grow.
And remember, this journey is about more than just making money.
It's about personal growth, self-discovery, creating a life of purpose and meaning.
That's where the unscripted philosophy really shines.
Taking control, defining your own success, building a life that aligns with your values.
So let's move on to part 3, where we'll dive into some more practical tactics for building a successful business and creating a life of freedom and fulfillment.
Welcome back to the deep dive. We're wrapping up our exploration of MJ DeMarco's Unscripted.
So we've talked about challenging those, conventional ideas about success.
Right, embracing those asymmetric returns.
And, building a business that aligns with the sense framework.
But it's not enough to just have a great idea, right?
No, you need a system for actually bringing that idea to life, attracting customers, generating income.
And that's where sales and marketing come in.
And DeMarco breaks it down using this really clever analogy. Think of it like fishing.
Okay, I'm hooked. Tell me more.
All right, so first, you need the right bait. That's your relative value.
Your product or service has to be something people actually want, something they're willing to pay for.
It's got to solve a problem, fulfill a need.
And this is where perceived value comes in.
Absolutely. People need to see it as valuable.
Enough to exchange their hard-earned money for it.
Exactly. Then you need a compelling hook. That's your marketing message, your offer.
How do you communicate that value? How do you grab attention?
It's the art of crafting a message that resonates, that clearly articulates the benefits.
So you've got your bait, your hook, what else?
You need the right boat. That's your distribution channel.
How are you going to reach your ideal customers?
Online, offline.
Maybe a bit of both.
DeMarco says it's got to align with how your customers behave, where they hang out.
Makes sense. So you've got to be where your audience is.
Right. Then you need to cast your line frequently enough to actually catch them fish. That's your reach and marketing consistency.
So showing up consistently, staying top of mind.
Are you putting in the work to attract those customers?
Because even with the best bait and the sturdiest boat, if you're not fishing, you're not going to catch anything.
Exactly. And finally, you need a reliable fishing pole. That's your closing your conversion process.
How do you turn those interested prospects into paying customers?
How do you make it easy for them to say yes?
This is where a lot of entrepreneurs struggle, right?
They might have amazing products or services, but then they don't know how to close the deal.
DeMarco gives a lot of practical advice on this, right?
Oh yeah, he talks about crafting compelling offers, optimizing your marketing messages, closing deals authentically.
It's about becoming a student of sales and marketing, always learning, refining your approach.
And don't forget about the power of storytelling.
We've touched on that before, but it's so crucial.
People connect with stories, they buy into the emotions, the values behind your brand.
It's about making your brand relatable, creating that genuine connection.
Look at those iconic brands again: Apple, Nike, Harley Davidson.
They're not just selling products, they're selling a feeling, an experience, a story.
Find that story behind your brand. Weave it into your marketing, your website, your overall identity.
And I think the Heroic Kitchen example really highlights this. Donating to animal rescue, it's a story that resonates.
It adds depth, meaning, to their brand.
So we've covered a lot of ground here, but one question keeps coming up for me. How do we stay motivated on this journey, especially when things get tough?
DeMarco talks about having a strong why.
That compelling reason for pursuing this unscripted path?
What's driving you? What's that dream life you're working towards?
Having that clear vision can be a powerful motivator.
It helps you stay focused when you hit those inevitable roadblocks.
And don't forget to celebrate those small wins along the way.
Acknowledge the progress you're making. Even those little victories can keep you going.
Give yourself a pat on the back.
And try to find ways to make the process enjoyable. If you're dreading your work, it's going to be a lot harder to stay motivated.
So find what lights you up, what makes you excited to get out of bed each morning.
DeMarco also emphasizes the importance of community.
Surrounding yourself with supportive people.
Other entrepreneurs, mentors, friends, family who believe in your vision.
People who lift you up, not drag you down.
And remember, this journey is about more than just financial freedom.
It's about personal growth, self-discovery, creating a life of purpose.
It's about aligning your work with your values, making a positive impact on the world.
That's the ultimate reward, a life of freedom, fulfillment, true happiness.
So as we wrap up our deep dives into Unscripted, we hope you feel inspired to take control and create that future that aligns with your dreams.
Remember, it's not about following a pre-scripted path. It's about defining your own success, building a life that reflects who you are.
Take action, embrace the journey, and start writing your own unscripted story.
And that concludes our deep dive into Unscripted. We hope you gain some valuable insights, feel motivated to start creating your own path to freedom.
Keep learning, keep growing, keep pushing towards those dreams.
Until next time.